You know what game series rules that people should pay more attention to? Dragon Quest. I absolutely adore Dragon Quest, or Dorakue as it's known colloquially in Japan. It's a cultural touchstone in its native land, loved by young and old alike. But over here in the West, it's always lived in the shadow of its younger half-brother. Final Fantasy. Like any good fan that feels like not enough people pay attention to the cool thing they enjoy, I decided to share my obsession with the cool thing I enjoy. How? Well, every December for the past 4 years, I've held Dragon Quest December over on my Twitch channel. An event where each year I play through another mainline entry in this iconic series. When I'm done, I move over to playing one of the many DQ spin-off games to round the year out. Alongside celebrating its 5th year with one of, if not, my favourite games in the series. It's DQ5, by the way. If you hadn't guessed by the fact it's the 5th year, it's DQ5. Ah, I love this game, it's so goddamn good! I wanted to start celebrating it over here on YouTube too. My plan? Nothing serious. Just make a short going over one of my all-time favourite pieces of Dragon Quest trivia. Why the games are always released on a Saturday. This is strange because most games in Japan are released on a weekday, typically a Thursday. I first heard the story at one of the Dragon Quest Orchestra events, told by the conductor, Yu Nishimura. I later confirmed the tale with some of my colleagues who'd been kids around that time. A nice, simple story that I could tell in a couple of minutes. You may have realised by now that you are not watching a short. It happened to me again! Yep. While looking around for some sources to back up my first-hand accounts, because these guys I knew who were alive at the time just wasn't good enough for me, apparently. It spiralled out of control and I learned that it was so much worse than I'd initially thought. Hello again, I'm Game Gaijin, and welcome to my first year of Dragon Quest December over on YouTube, where we're going to take a look at that one time the release of a Dragon Quest game brought Armageddon to the streets of Japan.
Some 1,000 of these games prepared for the customers in Shinjuku were sold in a matter of few minutes.
3人組の男に襲われ手に持っていたドラゴンクエスト3を奪われた。信じられないぐらいのフィーバーぶりなんですけれども。
50人以上がずらりと並んで待っております。
Okay, we best get in the right mood for this. Okay. Can't really see me because I'm so large. Oh god, no! Slime, no! Don't abandon me! How's that looking? Oh fuck. I love this bunting. We hang it up every year on stream. I got it from the Dragon Quest Lawson in Osaka. I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist anymore. Oh, piss on my chips. Maybe if I did it like that. Jesus Christ! In my head this made so much more sense. It was going to be a nice and easy just put the bunting up. It'll look cool. Everyone will be like, he's doing that one thing where they set up in the background and it's a nice little filler to set the scene. And then they're going to they make something go wrong on purpose to make it look funny. But this isn't funny, this is actually happening to me right now. This is real. How's that look? Wow! Look at that, finally. There we go. I'll just power through the YouTube essay background stuff real quick. Dragon Quest is a long-running RPG series that began its life back on the Famicom in 1986. It was developed by Chinsoft. Chinsoft. Bloody Chinsoft. The greatest combo ever made. Local historian joins forces with Japanese developers to form Chinsoft. Oh, fuck me. Oh, alright, let's try that again, shall we? It was developed by Chunsoft and published by Enix. Yes, the company that would later merge with Square, of Final Fantasy fame, to become that company we all know and love. Tosei Software. Oh, of course not. It's the imaginatively named Square Enix. Dragon Quest is the OG JRPG, releasing its first two titles well before Square's first foray into the genre ever hit the shelves. The first game was pretty basic by today's standards. You had one party member with a fixed skill set, walked around a bit, did a lot of grinding, and eventually saved the world from the evil Dragon Lord. Ooh. Standard stuff nowadays. The sequel mixed things up a bit by adding 2 more party members and expanding the map. You also had access to a boat with multiple continents to explore. But characters still came with fixed skill sets and yes, plenty more grinding. This time your goal was to defeat organised religion. By the by, these games were just re-released after being remade in the HD 2D engine. If you want to see what the updates are like, I'll be streaming them as part of Dragon Quest December, once DQ5 is all done and dusted. Both of these games sold incredibly well. By 1990, DQ2 was in the top 5 all-time Famicom bestsellers, having shifted 2.2 million units. You know which game sold even better than that? Its sequel, Dragon Quest 3. The final game in the Lotto trilogy, or Erdrick trilogy in English, DQ3 was a huge upgrade from the first 2 games. The max number of party members increased again to 4. Aside from the hero, the remaining 3 party members were completely customizable, with selectable genders and a new job system. Want to carry around 3 glass cannon black mages? Go for it. Can't be arsed with spells and just want to punch stuff? Have a team of martial artists and warriors. Fancy making the start of the game virtually impossible, but then turn it into an absolute cakewalk? Step 1. Take 3 Asobinin/gadabouts. These guys have terrible stats, don't listen to you half the time, and tend to goof off in battle. Step 2. Put up with their BS until level 20. Step 3. Get to the part of the game where you can change class and upgrade them into sages. Asobinines can do this without using the limited rare item required by other classes. The prize for all of your efforts? Sage is the most broken class in the whole game, and is capable of learning both healing and damage spells. Basically red mages, but not arse.
You do seriously surprise me.
Thank you, Chef. I was hoping you'd see that. I mean, I'd give it all I got.
You surprise me to how shit you are.
Oh, thank you.
You could even design your own builds, like starting someone off as a white mage to get some healing spells, then swapping them over to a martial artist or warrior, so they can punch good. On top of all this, the world got even bigger. The boat returned, and later on in the game, you could upgrade to flying around on a, mild spoiler. The goal? Defeat Baramos, a wrinkly old lizard wizard out to rule the world. After the wild success of the first 2 games, all of these promised upgrades and new features meant that Dragon Quest III was hotly anticipated. In fact, the release is infamous for the absolute chaos that it wrought. Enix, nay, Japan itself, was not ready for the coming of this video game. Tuesday, 9th of February 1988. For many, it was a normal day like any other. Breakfast, a cramped train ride, a vending machine coffee followed by 8 to 10 hours of salaryman busybodying. But to others, this was no ordinary day. It was the day before a new release in the greatest game series to hit the Famicom since the Mario twins. Dedicated gamers across Japan wrapped up warm and set out into the cold winter afternoon, making their way to the nearest train station with hopes of getting into the city. Their target? The local game shop. These brave warriors were equipped with stools, blankets, magazines and playing cards. Anything that would keep them warm, comfortable and entertained during the long night ahead. 3 PM. People begin forming orderly lines outside game shops up and down the country, like the big camera in Ikebukuro, Tokyo and the kiddie land in Umeda, Osaka. 6 PM. The sun crawls out of view and night begins to set in. More people arrive. Midnight. It's now Wednesday, the 10th of February, release day. The last train carrying the final batch of adventurers pulls into the station. Hundreds spend a bitter night out in the cold, with the temperature dropping as low as 1.6 degrees in Tokyo. People shuffle their feet to improve circulation in an attempt to keep warm. 4 AM. 5 hours until the stores open early to begin selling the game. The remaining dedicated fans wake up and head out into the cold. The queues get longer. 5 AM. 4 hours until sales begin. The sun starts to rise on a beautiful, crisp winter morning. The queues get longer. 7 AM. 2 hours until sales begin. News crews begin to gather en masse to gawk at the fans and family members awaiting the new release. The queues get longer and longer and longer. Come 8 AM, the queue in the KO department store in Shinjuku spans all 8 floors and goes out the door and down the street. Big Camera in Ikebukuro has a line that snakes across multiple main roads. The queue is over 2 kilometers long, with more than 10,000 people waiting to buy Dragon Quest III on release day. At the time, this was unheard of. The closest thing they'd had before this was with Dragon Quest II, and even then, the lines in Ikebukuro were reportedly only half as long. People turned out in droves, because sales were done on a first-come, first-served basis. You had to get there early to make sure you got your spot in line. How do you know you've turned up early enough? Just show up a casual 19 hours before the shop opens, like these nutters did.
いつから来てるんですか？
昨日の3時半。
午後3時半。
はい。
本当。
This whole hubbub was like catnip to the Japanese media. After all, back then video gaming was nowhere near as popular as it is today, being thought of as something more for children. So seeing salary men who'd booked the day off, mothers, grandparents and children, more on that later, all lining the streets to ensure they got their copy day one, it was unprecedented. So unprecedented, in fact, that the Japanese news did not shut up about it for days.
ドラゴンクエスト3。
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 ドラゴンクエスト3。何も入ってないんですよこれ。
They even started to refer to the event as the Dragon Quest 3 release controversy. Controversy. That's an interesting choice of words, isn't it? Could you really call 10,000 people lining up in Ikebukuro a controversy? I mean, sure, that's a metric butt-ton of humans, but is it controversial? Well, they use the word sodo in Japanese, which can also be translated to uproar. Well, that makes more sense. But it can also be translated to scandal. It was at this point that my research went deeper, and hoo boy! Waiting in line was the least of people's worries on DQ3's release day. Okay, I know this ruins the segue, but I need to talk about the best interview I've seen with someone waiting in line. Allow me to introduce Japan's coolest mom.
いいんじゃないですか？ロールプレイングのゲームだし、頭よくはなんないかな。根性つきますよ。
What an absolute badass. Bear in mind, she's saying this in the 80s, when most parents thought that video games were a massive waste of time, especially in Japanese society, where they put such a focus on making sure that kids are studying. You bet throughout this ordeal there were plenty of TV panels, morning shows and magazine articles, all discussing whether or not kids were spending too much time playing video games. I'm fully aware that this footage is from 7 months before I was born, but I would like to marry this woman. Hi, editing game Gaijin here. You can tell it's editing me because I'm sat down. Anyway, I didn't pop off about this woman anywhere near hard enough. The way she said, "Wouldn't it make you smarter?" Cute as all hell. As well as making a really good point about kids playing role-playing games being a good thing. Oh, and the use of the word konjo here, chef's kiss. Mwah! Perfection. So I translated it as character, since I believe that most succinctly expresses her intent. But konjo is such a powerful word. It can also mean guts, spirit, willpower, determination. It's one of those loaded words that makes a person lose their goddamn mind when used in the correct situation. And, to top it all off, she adds yo to the end of the sentence, emphasising her point even further. It's as if she's challenging the reporter for daring to ask such a dumb question. Look, it's hype, okay? Just trust me. Sorry for derailing the video. We can get back to it now. This woman's probably in her 50s by now. Who am I kidding? That wouldn't stop me. Kids. Tiny humans. Little wankers. They put the ko in Kodomo. Society forces them to attend school in a vague attempt to teach them about the world. At least enough to turn them into capable consumers anyhow. Believe it or not, this was as true in the 80s as it is today. So, way back on the release day of Dragon Quest 3, hordes of children had to wait until the end of the school day before they could rush to their local toy shop and pick up a copy. Many of those children found nothing but disappointment as they arrived to find all of the release day stock gone. Left either forlorn or in tears, these kids were punished for playing by the rules. But what if you don't want to play by the rules? You don't want to be the only chump in your area to not have a copy of the game, right? What if you were to do a little skiving, or hooky as I believe the Merkins call it? That way you could make sure you're one of the first kids in your area to get a copy of the game and to actually start playing it. No one will miss you if you call in sick for just one day. Tempting, eh? Well, hold it right there, kiddo. Look, I didn't have anything to use as a gun or a policeman's hat. These'll have to do, alright? You'll have to answer to the juvenile division of your local police force. As I alluded to earlier, there were plenty of kids dodging school to join the queues nice and early. Some of them even going as far as showing up the night before. They came prepared as well. Whenever a camera crew would try to interview them, they'd always hide their faces and come out with the same lame excuses. Oh, I don't have school today, it's closed for exams. Or, it's Founders Day. For those of you that don't know, in Japan, the anniversary of a school's founding is treated as a holiday for all of its students. Since not every school was founded on the same day, this was obvious horse hockey. And anyone unlucky enough to still be around when the authorities turned up was taken into custody. A total of 283 students from primary age to secondary were caught on release day skipping school. At the time, this was seen as a real burgeoning problem, as the simple act of skipping school was thought to be the start of a slippery slope into a life of delinquency. Before the release of the game, the Board of Education sent out a memo to schools urging students not to skip classes to buy the game. The National Police Agency even got involved, writing to enix asking that they make pre-order tickets available so children could purchase the game without having to miss school. They also asked retailers to distribute the tickets on Sundays or during after-school hours. Getting caught by the police was the least of the kids' worries though. There were also unsavoury types clocking young kids waiting to buy the game, then catching up with them later to take it from them on their way home. The most famous example of this was in Ichinomiya, Nagoya, where a young primary school kid was robbed by 3 secondary schoolers on bikes. This was unbelievable at the time, as it was akin to stealing a child's plush toy or Furby. Are those still a thing? I have no clue what kids want these days. V-Bucks? I don't know. Skibbity-rees!
How do you do, fellow kids?
You're right, dickheads. Editing game guys again. Sorry to interrupt, but I just noticed that one of the newspaper articles that flashes up for about 2 seconds during one of the news segments states that an unemployed man abducted a primary school student after clocking them in line. This happened in Fukuoka Prefecture in Kitakyushu City. And unfortunately, other than what you can see on screen right now, I could not find any information about this. And of course, I'm in the edit, so I'm just trying to get this out the door at this point. It's already January, spoiler alert. And yeah, I guess it happened. It was in the newspaper, but you try searching unemployed man abducts child in Japanese. There are so many results. I don't have time for this. Anyway, let's get back to it. I hope you're having fun. Kids getting abducted over video games. Whee! But if you thought we were done with crime, hold on to your cheeks because some of the shops were in on it too. Retailers saw this as a golden opportunity to shift some of their more unpopular titles by bundling them together with Dragon Quest III. You see, back in those days, you couldn't just send your unsold games back to the distributor. You were stuck with them. So, when an unsuspecting customer walked through the door looking to purchase a copy of Dragon Quest III, you just refused to do so until they bought some of the kusoge rotting on your shelves as well. Which is illegal. Japanese fair trade law states that you cannot sell an item only as part of a bundle. It must be available individually as well. I did also find an interesting quote from Games TM issue 100 back in 2010. where several people involved in the Japanese games industry all got together and reminisced about the Famicom era. I remember Dragon Quest selling so well that the owner of a toy shop in my neighbourhood started bundling it with other games to get rid of them, which was against the law, so he got arrested. Now Yuki isn't clear here as to which game in the series that this quote relates to, as DQ4 also released on the Famicom and sold incredibly well, but it still could be DQ3. Who knows? Now the use of the word controversy makes a lot more sense. Kids were skipping school and getting mugged, and shops were potentially breaking the law by bundling unsellable, knackered wank with the hottest selling game of 1988. It was also reported that many adults were skipping work as well. I guess not everyone wanted to waste a day's holiday standing in line. This led to the joke that a Dragon Quest release day is a national holiday. It also spawned an urban legend that says the Japanese government had to step in and create a law to change future Dragon Quest release days to be on a Saturday. All in order to prevent the country from ever coming to a standstill again. Yes, I hear you, we're finally at the point of the video. But I want you to think about that for a second. People were saying that the Japanese government had to create a law, an actual piece of legislation, to stop the popularity of a video game series from bringing the country to its knees. Now, this is something so ridiculous that, in your heart, you kinda wanna believe it's true. It even lines up with a change in the series' release dates after Dragon Quest III. Apart from DQ10, who doesn't count. Oh, dang it. Every mainline game after DQ3 has released on a weekend. So what actually happened? Well, as you might have guessed by now, the government did not in fact step in and change the release dates of a video game franchise by law. Actually, it came down to Enix themselves. You see, the team felt so bad for having created such nationwide turmoil that they wanted to bring in a rule that made all future release dates be on a weekend. Thankfully, they were able to work something out with Nintendo to do just that. This has been confirmed in interviews with DQ Series executive producer Yu Miyake. Not to be confused with this Yu Miyake, creator of several bangers for the Tekken, Ridge Racer and Katamari games. There sure are a lot of U's in this video. Basically, the general accepted practice in the industry was to have games shipped out on a Thursday, but there were kids who would skip school to go and buy the games. So we arranged with Nintendo to have Dragon Quest released on a Saturday as a special exception to that. Miyake has also been quoted in interviews stating that the rule was instigated after Enix were contacted by the police. The police actually said, "You guys need to do something about this. This is not okay." This was back in the era of Enix, and so Dragon Quest started being sold only on Saturdays. Actually, it's the only series sold on Saturday. This could have been referring to that letter from the National Police Agency I mentioned earlier, but Miyake's quote isn't 100% accurate. If we pull the chart back up, you'll notice that it wasn't until the release of the somewhat underrated DQ6 that the Saturday release schedule we all know and love today was actually started. Both DQ4 and 5 were released on Sundays. However, this interview was from almost 30 years after the release of DQ4, so I don't blame him for misremembering here. And there you have it. That's how Dragon Quest games wound up being released on Saturdays. All because Enix felt bad for making a game series so good, it truly did as advertised and brought Armageddon to the streets of Japan. Sadly, Nowadays, we don't really need to factor in for this sort of thing. With pre-orders, online shopping and digital downloads, your copy of any given game on day one is well within your grasp. You can even pay extra to play games early, which is ridiculous. You aren't playing them early, the actual release date is just gate-kept behind more money. My god, I hate monetization in the games industry. Unfortunately, the art of the queue, and by extension the midnight launch, have long since died a death. Gaming media titan Tim Rogers portrayed this perfectly with his coverage of the release of DQ9 back in 2009. His shaky, sleep-deprived camera work shows that the only visible queue is for an event at a soft map in Shibuya, where creator of Dragon Quest Hori Yuji awaited gamers with a handshake to go with their new DS experience. Other stores, however, sat around with piles of the game beckoning empty streets to come and grab a copy, as additional crowd control staff stood around shouting at nobody. If not for the witty commentary accompanying the footage, it would be an incredibly sad series of videos.
So here we go. This guy's he just bought the game and he's watching the advertisement trailer for it. It's proof that marketing continues working even after people have purchased the product.
This franchise, once famed for drawing crowds so large that the disruption caused other shops nearby to close for the day, now reduced to a single line of nerds, only queuing up for the chance to fondle a legend. As a British man, I enjoy standing in a good queue. It's as ingrained in me as drinking tea and baking beans. The death of the day one or midnight launch truly saddens me. It's just another lost aspect of gaming that reduces our chances to interact with one another in meat space. There was just something special about standing around with like-minded people, waiting for hours in the cold for the release of the same game. Passing the time talking to randomers about what you were both looking forward to in the new title, or just stuff you enjoyed in general. Building camaraderie and community with your lightly Cheeto-dusted peers. We're seeing our chances to do this fall by the wayside more and more in the modern day, as the world gets smaller and the amount of time we spend glued to our screens gets longer and longer. So, I urge you to take a moment to consider how you might be able to inject some of this lost interaction back into your life. My personal favourite is to go around my local retro shops, speaking with the staff and other customers. Because shooting the shit with strangers and sharing your passion is cool, actually. It's why I'm sat here doing this, after all. Okay, that should cover the quota for my soapbox moment this video, so let's wrap things up. I hope you enjoyed this look into why Dragon Quest games are released on Saturdays, and how the release of DQ3 brought chaos to the streets of Japan. If you happen to be watching this video at time of release, you, yes you, still have a chance to celebrate Dragon Quest December with me, yes me, over on Twitch, or here on YouTube on the VODs channel. Links are in the description. Oh, and if you happen to be watching in the future, don't worry, you can still watch the VODs. I urge you do, I'm sure we had a blast. And that about rounds off 2025 here on the main channel. Thanks to everyone who's watched and enjoyed what I've put out so far, with special thanks to those of you who've supported me via Twitch subs or Ko-Fi. Coffee? Whatever it's called. I'll be kicking off 2026 with a couple more of these shorter form videos, and then it'll be balls deep back onto analysing Kusoge. Do you want a hint for the next video? Well, it involves a monkey, a communication visionary, and one of my favourite retro consoles. Satoshi Tajiri might make an appearance too. No promises though. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. and until 2026, ta-ra ta-ra, ta-ra! So, I know I usually put like a gag or an outtake here at the end, but instead, today I'd like to take a quick moment to talk about Flash Magazine. So, Flash Magazine was successfully sued by squareenix for spoiling the ending of Dragon Quest 3. So I thought, ooh, buy a copy of the issue, get some nice photos, put it in the video. And then I bought the wrong issue. This does include Dragon Quest 3, but it's more about all those long lions and all them kids getting arrested. So, useful for this video, but not in the way I originally intended. If you do want to see me talk about that at some point, let me know in the comments below. I'll consider it when I've got time. Anyway, it arrived, and then I opened it, and it's just full of naked ladies. There's just so many bare naked ladies in here. I don't know what I expected, really. It's called Flash.
I don't know what's going on.